This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman and Riley Smith. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley Smith.
Well, good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Tuesday, July 26, 2022. We're so glad you could join us. In today's episode of Ag Matters PM, I talk with Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Glisan about the U.S. Drought Monitor and the current conditions here in Iowa. We also have a check of that ag weather outlook, but first, let's run down the markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
Well, we're towards the end of another day in the ag marketplace, and for a bit of analysis, we go to Jacob Burks of agmarket.net. Jacob, what do we see going on in those grain markets?
This is a very exciting day in the grains. Back to double-digit gains across every category. Some explosiveness in the soybean meal. Looking at the front part of the soybeans in August, up 60 cents at one point today. We're going to end up settling here over around the 15.30 level for August. November new crop soybeans, up at 33 cents at this moment. 13.79 on the close. Hanging right around the $6 level in new crop corn. You're just seeing a lot of risk back on. If you've paid attention to the Commitment of Traders reports. We've seen a mass exodus over the last month, really 2 months, from the fund community, and I think that with some continued heats discussions, you're looking at some opportunities that that we could see some bounce just off the weather premium put back into this market, and I think that's what the funds have kind of came back to the game.
Right, and are we trading, like you said, mostly on that weather market right now, or are we having a bit of those global conditions factored in? I know we have deals with China going on right now, and as well the situation with Russia and Ukraine.
One of our guys, said it last week, pretty good. The market really doesn't know what to blame this on. Sometimes you got global economic issues. You've got interest rate hikes potentially. So we're trying to look at a deflationary period as it's coming down. As soon as the market comes back up, we're talking about the inflationary. So yes, the answer to your question, Riley, is yes. That is all included. But I think figuring out what to blame it on each and every day is sometimes a little bit difficult. I would say that you got to look at some major factors right now. That the continued heat is significant. You're looking at August weather, potentially being 3 to 4 days across the high plains and across some of the Midwest that have 100 and 105 degree temperatures that are forecasted. You have some big swap of rain come through the central Illinois. So the weather and who's getting the rainfall, who's going to be getting the heat, that's still significant. There's still some growing situations. We have not produced a record yield. We're trend line yields in the beans is a number that we haven't ever even seen. So there is some very significant weather situations that could cause us not to be at those record yields, and that's something that we can't afford to not have. When you go into look at the overseas situation, are we pulling grain out of the breadbasket of Europe? Who knows? You look at the energy situation going on in Europe and who controls that. So there's so many factors into this, and if grain starts to move out of Ukraine at a significant pace, then I think that we will have some pressure on this in the wheat market and everything. But at this point now, it's still up in the air.
All right, and what are we seeing on the other side of the marketplace in the livestock complex?
Well, we had some significant gains last week in our feeder cattle. To stick with them for a little bit, we made new contract highs, and we're still on an upward trend, but just had another disappointing day. $2 lower. Not a big surprise if you saw what the corn market did. So still hanging in there. You've got your sale barns, everything that you're seeing. You have some significant moves, significant higher prices. Today was a bad trading day, probably more technically led than anything after yesterday's close on an inside day. I think that nothing to panic about, but I do feel like it as a producer, it's somewhere that we need to start looking at some risk management. It's the same with the your fall and winter months and the fat cattle. And if you're a cattle feeder, down 50 to 60 cents today, not really that significant, but we have bumped up to the top side of the range that we put in for about 3 months. Definitely worth a look there. And the hog market's been strong all, in a slow grind upward trend. Today we had another 20 to 30 cent day. So pretty much a quiet day across most of the cattle, most of the livestock complex. Feeder cattle took it a little bit worse just because the farm is up so high.
Right, and a big thing we've been talking about is, input costs and living costs generally, with people, spending maybe a little more towards pork chops, that cheaper cut of meat instead of the beef. But we have seen some of those, gas prices specifically coming down just a little bit. So as we see that the consumer maybe has a little more money to spend, will we see some of that demand that's in the pork right now go back to the cattle?
I think, yeah, you'll have your more expensive cuts. I mean, even that spread right now that you're seeing in the choice select spread is widened back out. Your people are more willing to spend. It seems like the more expensive cuts, the higher quality, and you'll probably start to see some of that demand back away from the hogs. What we're hoping for is to see that continued export demand of our hogs. That would be very significant. Pullback if we don't continue to export the pork like we have. And I do feel like first of all, the summer purchases for the summer grilling season's not quite over yet, but it's winding down, and so it'll be curious to see what the kills do on the slaughter rates of these cattle. All in all, we have the market told us last week in the cattle line feed report that what we knew was coming, but the herd's shrinking, and so see some elevated prices. The futures market hasn't kind of factored in out into the spring time frame, out into the winter to the spring. So I think that that's we're at a spot right now with some very good levels. I just highly encourage guys to look at what kind of profit margin you have, and look at some tools and strategies to get that stuff locked in.
Right, and if producers are interested in talking with you guys pretty quick and talking those strategies and figuring out some other stuff along that, how can they get in touch with the folks at agmarket.net?
I highly encourage everybody, just look at the free trial. First of all, get to know us. Look at the agmarket.net. Go to Intel. That will be all of our information coming to you. Sign up there for a 30-day free trial. We'll be getting a hold of you there. If you want to call me directly, my phone number here, I'm in the southwest corner of Wisconsin, 608-384-5438.
All right, well, Jacob, well, it was great talking with you today, and we look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thanks, Riley. Have a good day.
That again was Jacob Burks of agmarket.net. We'll go ahead and take a look at how those numbers close. That's courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. September corn is up 17 even at 597 even. December corn up 17 even as well at 600 3/4. August soybeans up 59 3/4 at 1532 3/4. November soybeans up 37 3/4 at 1383 3/4. Soybean meal up 1980 at 435 even. Soy oil up 47 at 58.79. Chicago wheat up 33 3/4 at 803 3/4. Minneapolis spring wheat up 46 1/4 at 930 1/4. Kansas City hard red wheat up 37 1/4 at 877 even. And September oats up 9 even at 451 1/2. On the Merc, August live cattle down 87 at 136.87. August feeders down 187 at 177.42. August lean hogs down 25 at 116.97. Pork cutout down 2 cents at 123.62. And Class 3 milk down a nickel at 22.49. And that's been a check of the Ag Market Recap here on Ag Matters PM. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, I talk with Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Glisan for our reoccurring segment on the U.S. Drought Monitor and the conditions we're seeing in Iowa. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Well, like I said earlier, I had the chance to talk with Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Glisan for a bit on our recurring segment on the U.S. Drought Monitor and what that means for Iowa. He said that there's been a little bit of an increase for dry conditions in some parts of the state, but otherwise we could see some timely rains to help us out. Well, it's another week of the U.S. Drought Monitor, so we're here talking with Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Justin Glisan. Justin, what did we see going on in this week's Drought Monitor?
Yeah, so we saw some regions of degradation across southern Iowa. We saw an expansion of the D0 abnormally dry category. Now, that's that yellow category on the drought depiction. It's not drought, but it's abnormal dryness, precipitation deficits 30 to 60 days, so shorter term dryness. Also, within that southeastern D0 region that's been there for several weeks, we had a downgrade to D1, moderate drought. So that's representative of precipitation deficits on a time scale of 6 months, 4 to 8 inches below average. So getting drier down in that pocket of southwestern or southeastern Iowa. Then we look towards northwestern Iowa, basically status quo, no change up there. We had some timely rainfalls. We had a little bit of drought expansion into Lyon County, but overall, northwestern Iowa has remained what we call status quo. Now, given the temperatures that we've been going through this week, we could see some further intensification next week. But we did have some rainfall this morning that impacted positively the D1 and D3 region up that way.
Right, and I've seen in the forecast here, even for this weekend, we could get a little bit of rain going on there. Does that really match up with the timeliness of what we need? I've seen a lot of corn right now that's tasseling, and I'm sure the soybeans are getting underway as well. So, is the rain kind of at the wrong time still?
No, so I've been driving around field scouting, one of my favorite things to do, and we've noticed some good-looking corn and beans in these drier parts of the state. So we have had periodic rainfalls that have held the crop on, a lot like last year. Last year was drier. Drought was more pervasive across much of the northern 2/3 of the state, and we had bin buster harvests after the growing season ended. So yes, we're tasseling across much of the state. Pollination's occurring. This is when we need rainfall the most. These hot temperatures have not been beneficial in terms of moisture stress on the crop. But moving forward, we do look like we're going to cool down and have more chances of rainfall. So anything that we can get right now is only beneficial. Now, of course, we would have liked to see climatologically expected rainfalls earlier in June and July, but we'll take what we can get.
Right, and you mentioned that the northwest area, they're going kind of status quo right now. Does that mean this is usually kind of the conditions they see around this time every year? A lot of that is bleed over from more of the western parts of the country, right?
Mm-hmm. So status quo meaning we didn't see a change in the map. So basically on the ground, the on the ground situation hadn't changed enough to warrant intensification or expansion of drought, but also on the flip side of that, to actually see removal or upgrading the drought conditions from, say, like D3 to D2. So we're entering the hottest time of the year, late July into August, also the teeth of the growing season. So again, as you had alluded to, rainfall right now or moving forward over the next 7 to 10 days, 7 to 10 days will be extremely helpful.
Right, and I've seen a lot of graphics lately talking about how much water just the corn crops put in the air as well. Does it have that much of an influence on the weather like we see? I saw it's like billions of gallons of water that the corn can put to make it humid like it is, especially today.
Yeah, we talk about relative humidities at 100%. That's basically swamp-like air. Well, transpiring corn puts out a lot of water vapor, and you can get pools of supersaturated air over top the canopy, and thunderstorms like to feed off of that. Part of our weather pattern across the Midwest and over the Corn Belt is driven by some of that moisture that is transpired by corn. In June and July, we get a lot of overnight convection from what we call mesoscale convective systems, or those lines of thunderstorms that seem to persist overnight and wake us up with thunder and lightning. So definitely we do see a micro scale impact from the vast amount of water that the crop does transpire.
That again was Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Justin Glisan. As for right now, let's go ahead and take a look at that ag weather outlook. Well, if you've been outside today or even yesterday, you would know that the temperatures have just been amazing recently. Yesterday, it stayed mostly in the 70s across the state. Today, getting into the 80s a little bit, but not too bad. It's still very tolerable weather conditions, especially with the heat that we have seen so far this year. But speaking of that heat, it looks like it could return sooner than we would like. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the National Weather Service has to say for the next 24 hours. As you can see from the National Weather Service, those temps are starting to warm up again. Today we've got partly sunny to mostly cloudy skies with highs ranging from the low to mid 80s. Tonight, expect cloudy skies and a chance of thunderstorms statewide, lows ranging from the low 60s to upper 60s. And tomorrow, clouds will give way to mostly sunny skies and warmer temps, highs ranging from the low to upper 80s. Taking a look at the affiliate weather map right now, as you can see for tomorrow, Cherokee will be cloudy with a high of 83. Shenandoah sunny, a high of 87. Des Moines much of the same, sunny and 87. Waterloo sunny and 84. Albia partly sunny and 86. And Clinton partly sunny as well with a high of 84. For more detailed forecasts in your part of the state, make sure to check in with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that's been a check of the Ag Weather Outlook, and that also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on social media at Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, and you can find our previous episodes of AMPM as well as all of our other video content on our YouTube channel. So make sure you head over there, hit subscribe, and ring that notification bell to see when our videos go live. Don't forget as well our free Twice Daily Market podcast on Google, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Avery Haskell and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.